Hello and welcome to my late night stories. Tonight we're going to be talking about a mysterious case, a case so bizarre that it eventually got closed. This case is about Elisa Lam and the Cecil Hotel. An explanation exists, but the story still doesn't feel finished. Before we start tonight, I want you to understand something about this story. This is not just a case where there's no explanation. In every story, there is an explanation, but there was no official explanation in this story. Authorities eventually had to close the case, but this is one of those stories where even knowing explanation does exist, people will still walk away, feeling unsettled, like they were given an answer, but the whole picture wasn't even clear. The whole picture didn't even make sense. And the reason for that becoming clear only when you take the time to walk through the entire story. So let's get into it. Let's dive into the case of Elisa Lam. Slowly, in order, without skipping any uncomfortable parts. Elisa Lam was 21 years old. In her earlier 2013s, she was a university student from Canada. And one of the first things people noticed about her was how kind and gentle she was. She was a student who loved to write. And after she went missing, she was very open about how she talked about her inner world, inner peace. She wrote consistently. She kept an online blog and a personal journal where she talked about her emotions, her thoughts, and her struggles. She even talked about traveling and her plans and things that she wanted to do after university. She didn't write for an audience. She wrote to understand herself, understand her mental health, understand the person that she was becoming. It was important to tell. It's important because it tells you something about her, about who she really was. She wasn't secretive at all. She wasn't trying to disappear. If something was bothering her, she would talk about it. At that point in her life, Elisa decided to take a solo trip by herself to the West Coast in the United States. This wasn't an impulsive, planned out trip. She planned it very carefully. She did research, she researched her destination, and she booked her accommodations ahead of time and shared itineraries with her parents. There was only one rule she followed consistently throughout the trip, and her parents asked her to check in every time with them every single day to make sure she was okay and no harm was coming her way. She not occasionally did this, but she remembered to message her parents every day, and that was a normal routine for her. She was very persistent and consistent that when it broke, her parents would have noticed immediately. Elisa's trip took her through several cities, and eventually she arrived in LA, Los Angeles. There she checked into a large downtown hotel called the Cecil Hotel. This hotel is actually very famous. It's a very historical building with lots of complexity. This hotel is also known to be haunted. It functioned as a budget hotel for Elisa at the time, and many tourists had stayed there. Whether it be short-term, long-term, and long-term residents have lived there. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't pretty. It was all right, but it was enough for Elisa to be able to afford a stay at this hotel. Young travelers do stay there and tend to leave quickly at times. This hotel is known for strange things, strange anomalies, and it's a very mysterious hotel. Elisa explored the city that day. She took many pictures. She posted online. She interacted with other guests at the hotel. According to the hotel staff, she initially stayed in a shared room with another traveler. This traveler wasn't talked about too much, so the details about that traveler wasn't really known. But after a short time, those roommates had complained about Alisa and her strange behavior. The roommates ended up asking her to move into a different room. The details became important later, but at the time, it didn't raise major alarm bells. The hotel just simply moved Alisa to a private room with no police were called to, no reports were filed as well. It was just treated as a minor issue that Alisa just needed a private room to herself, and I'm sure she was better off being by herself rather than be with a bunch of roommates at the time. So as Alisa did, she called home, she messaged her parents, and her parents were fine, and her parents had assumed that everything was normal. But as soon as she didn't message one day, she was just out of line with her consistency in messaging her parents. So her parents had thought maybe she had a busy day, maybe she was tired, maybe she just wasn't feeling well. So her parents grew concerned very quickly because this wasn't like Alisa. They contacted authorities and Alisa Lam was officially reported a missing person. Police began their investigation. They had searched the Cecil Hotel and her belongings were still there. So where would have Alisa gone? Maybe she had gone out. Who knows? She hadn't even checked out yet. She hadn't even packed everything yet. There was no note, no messages, no indication that she was intended to leave early or disappear in the meantime. At this point, the case looked like a straightforward missing investigation. Then police realized there was a piece of security footage, and that's when the case changed completely. The footage came from a security camera inside the hotel's elevator. It showed Alisa, who was alone at the time. She had stepped inside the elevator and pressed several buttons, like she was trying to escape from somebody or something, but nobody really knew what was the reason behind all of this. Then she stepped back in and out of the elevator. She leaned her head into the hallway, looking left and right, as if she was checking whether if someone was there. She steps back inside the elevator, then back out the elevator again. At one point, she stands to the side of the elevator and she presses her hands and head against the elevator's door, partially hidden away from the camera, making it slow, unusual movements. She was making unusual movements with her hands, movements that don't clearly match any oblivious action. The elevator doors don't close the way you expect them to. They stay open longer than any normal elevator would. When people first saw this footage, their reactions were immediately confused. Like, what was going through Alisa's mind? Or she looked scared, like something was trying to chase her. Other people believe that she was experiencing some kind of internal conflict. What made the footage so disturbing wasn't that it clearly showed she wasn't in danger, but she felt like she was in danger, if that makes sense. It was that it didn't clearly show anything. There was no visible threat, no second person to be found, no clear explanation for her to be acting this way. And because of that, people kept watching it over and over again, from part A to part B, to how the story and how she was so scared in that elevator. Counting each second and analyzing the timing of the elevator doors, Meanwhile, the police had to continue searching. They had searched the entire hotel. They had searched the hotel rooms. They had asked the roommates what was going on. They had talked to the C-cell staff. They searched hallways, stairways. They even checked fire escapes. They brought in canine dogs. They interviewed people, guests, and they searched the roof, but there was nothing. The story doesn't make sense. The story is just not piecing what had happened to Elisa Lam that day. And days turned into weeks. Then something suddenly had happened that nobody would have never expected. Hotel guests started to complain about the water being off. Some had said that the pressure was so low that perhaps that maybe other people were using the water at the time. Others had said the water had tasted really strange. So staff had took it upon themselves and management to see what had been going on with the water. They even checked the water themselves and noticed the water had changed colors. So at first it sounded like a routine maintenance issue. So management team, of course, decided to call maintenance and the maintenance workers to send them to check what was going on with the water tanks at the hotel. When the maintenance reached the rooftop of the tanks and opened the tank, they found Elisa Lam inside. That is so strange how Elisa Lam was inside the water tank. That discovery didn't end the mystery. It just multiplied it. Like, how did she even get into the water tank? Because suddenly there were more questions than answers. How did she get there? How did she even get to the roof? Don't you need a key to get to the roof? How did she have access to all of this? Upon question after question and trying to research the answers, relocating, going through security footages once again. Why would she go up there? Why didn't anyone notice sooner? Didn't guests or staff notice that she was going up there? Didn't security even notice that she was going to the rooftop? The tanks were large, industrial containers, elevated above the roof. The roof itself wasn't meant to be easily accessible to guests, and yet somehow Elise ended up inside one of them. Authorities had conducted a full investigation and eventually ruled the death accidental and mental health factors, along with environmental circumstances. According to the official conclusion, Elisa accessed the roof on her own, entered the tank, and became trapped. She didn't know how to get herself out of the tank, unfortunately. For some people, that explanation was enough. For others, it wasn't. Because even accepting that conclusion, certain details still felt unresolved. The elevator footage, the timeline, the logistics. Even today, people struggle to fit every nook and cranny, every piece of evidence, every piece that they thought they could put together in a way that feels complete. And that's why this case refuses to fade. This case is a mystery, not because people want something supernatural to be true, not because they are chasing conspiracy, but because when you take the time to walk through the story slowly, from the elevator to the rooftop discovery, the sequence still feels disjointed. Some stories end clearly, others don't. And the case of Elisa Lam remains one of those mysterious stories where explanation exists, but the discomfort never really goes away. This was the story of Elisa Lam. Thank you.